All right, welcome everyone. Welcome to the first session of the eLID series in 2024. Hope you all had a good holiday. So as we normally do, I would like you to just share in the chat where you're joining from. I would like to know where you're joining from. And what time is it where you're at? I'm joining from Milton Keynes in the UK and it's 7:30 p.m. here. Hey, Kim, yeah, from Yorkshire, UK. What time is it? It should be the same time with me in the UK. Yeah, great. So let's know where Kendra is joining us from Atlanta, US. Welcome, welcome, Kendra. Let's know where we're all joining from. And what time is it there? So it's 2:30 p.m. at Atlanta. Awesome. So it's still a good time. Wow. So we have Olama joining us from Lagos, Nigeria, and it's 8:30 p.m. Awesome. Welcome, Olama. Good to have you. Good to have you. Let's have more people tell us where they're joining from and what time is it there. The temperature here should be around, I'll just check my weather up.
Just above freezing, it feels like.
Awesome. Yeah, that's true. That's here it's not coming up. Okay, there it is. It's yeah, you're right, Kim. It's about 5 degrees here right now. I think Lagos is about 29 degrees. Yeah, welcome, Bumi. Bumi is joining us from London. And of course, it's 7:34 p.m. Awesome. Great. Welcome, Oluwatosin. Where are you joining from? Tell us where you're joining from and what time is it where you're at. Great, great, great. So it's 7:35. I'm just going to share my screen. While we await more people telling us where they're joining from and what time it is over there. Okay, great. So if you are just joining us for the first time, if you're attending this meeting for the first time, you're joining the eLID series, which is a free webinar that we do monthly. We talk about how to adopt e-learning design principles and instructional design principles in learning and design. And my name is Oyindamola Ojeriameato. I am the founder of the eLearning Designers Hub. And I started this initiative because I realized that a lot of people in Africa and, you know, even countries all over the world, a lot of organizations don't really adopt the principles of e-learning and ID the right way, especially when it comes to ensuring that the return on investment is being tracked. And this is why we are creating awareness about how e-learning design and instructional design principles can be adopted in our learning interventions so that, you know, the return on investment and all our measurable outcomes are achieved through e-learning. And I am a mentor and a coach in e-learning. I'm also a speaker. I talk about e-learning, you know, principles. I talk about e-learning interventions and how e-learning can be adopted to get better results in organizations. I have over 10 years of experience adopting learning and generating revenue in different ways. And I've been able to increase employees' performance, leading to customer satisfaction and revenue increase. I've been able to get employment in global corporate organization. And I'm also now running my personal consultancy as a freelancer. And then I was recently voted in as a member of the board in the Learning Network in the UK. And I'm very, very passionate about helping people gain skills in e-learning design, in digital learning. And basically what we do in the e-learning designers hub, we have our free monthly webinars, which we're having one today. We have e-learning workshops where we learn about e-learning development tools, how to use them to design learning. Conferences, we're going to have our very first conference very soon. The date will be communicated to us. And we also talk about tips on e-learning trends. And today, before I introduce our speaker, I would just like to ask us, looking at these 4 pictures on the slide, which one actually represents where you are in your career? How would you say you're feeling about your career? So I would like us to say that in the chat. How are you feeling about your career? Which one represents you right now? Are you super excited? You think you're killing it, you're doing well? Do you think, are you not confused? You're not sure what to do? Have you just achieved something great? And are you really sad, unhappy? Okay, I have Kendra, I have responses here. So Kendra says 3, that's amazing. Olama says 3, Bumi says 1. Awesome. So before we go on, I would like you to tell me, because I may have an interpretation of what you're saying. And so Bumi says 1. When you say 1, what do you mean? Can you unmute yourself and speak? Can you hear me, Bumi?
Yes, sorry, I can. I'm just trying to go to a more quiet place as the kids are in the background.
Oh.
Yes, so for me, 1 for me represents excitement. I'm just starting my career,
Okay.
and as a freelancer, and
great.
I'm ready to hit the ground running, and I'm excited and looking forward to what lays ahead, and hoping for the best, and trusting God that better things and great things are happening. Yeah, so that's
Beautiful.
me.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. I'll go for Olama. Why did you choose 3, Olama?
All right. Yeah. So I mean, about my career, some 2-3 years ago, I wasn't very excited about my part then. I was a bit confused as to what next to do, trying to identify what it is I should focus on my next level, even though I changed, my career from what I used to do. So, but today it's different, because even in December 2022, when I was trying to make my next move, I also seemed a bit confused, and somehow the story is, after a year, I would say the story is different, and that's why I chose 3. I'm more excited today than I was a year, 2, and even 3 years ago. So that's a big achievement for me. While I aim towards becoming 1, I feel great about being number 3.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Kendra, would you share with us why you chose 3?
Sure. Well, I thought 1 was sort of, too excited. So I'm feeling strong. So I wanted to be positive. I'm feeling strong. I feel like I'm doing a lot of learning that I'm feeling confident about, and I'm heading in the direction, but I don't have the number 1 exuberance just yet, but I'm headed there. So I gave it a 3.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you so much, everyone, for sharing. Kim says 3. Kim, I'm not going to ask you now, since you're going to be speaking, so you're going to tell us why you speak to us. So thank you, everyone, for that. So I'm going to say, let's all share our LinkedIn profiles in the chat and connect with one another. this is a community where we like to connect and learn from one another. So please share your link. Feel free to share your LinkedIn profile and connect. I'm going to share our LinkedIn profile as well. So feel free to connect while the meeting is on. Just go into the chat and make sure you connect with someone. Thank you. So right now I'm going to be introducing our speaker, Kim Ellis. I'll just say a bit about her and then she's still going to talk to us about herself. So Kim is based in Yorkshire in the UK. Kim is a leading blended learning specialist with nearly 20 years of experience developing customer service and contact center training. At Go Ginger Learning Solutions, she crafts bespoke learning programs tailored to each business' unique needs and values. With a rich background across various sectors, Kim understands that effective training is not one size fits all, and her approach is centered on creating engaging, relevant solutions that resonate with both businesses and learners. Kim's offerings include digital and blended learning, virtual and face-to-face training, and enhancing existing training materials. Additionally, she contributes to the Border Learning community through her role as a board member of the Learning Network. So with joy, please welcome Kim into to today's session as she speaks to us. Let's make some noise in the chat. Just, share an emoji that shows that you are excited about her being here while she speaks to us. So over to you, Kim.
Thank you very much.
Oh,
I'm very grateful to be here. Thank you for having me. As you've just seen, I'm a blended learning specialist, and I've got nearly 20 years experience in this industry, and I've got 6.5 years of those as a freelancer and as a self-employed business owner, freelancer, whatever kind of thing. I'll give you a little bit about how I got into the world of L&D and how I became an e-learning developer and a blended learning specialist before I get into the main section about the freelancing and the self-employed side of things. So way back in my very early 20s, I was working in a call center, and we were trained by the team leaders. So there wasn't a training department at that call center. And then we suddenly got a call center manager, a training manager in the call center, and he needed some help. So he asked for people to become line trainers, which was half on the phones, half doing training. And then that was it. That was me done for the rest of my career. I was like, I like this. I like teaching people how to do things. And for me, it was the moment anybody that does face-to-face training or that interactive kind of training, when you see them doing things for the first time by themselves and something you've taught them, it's that huge moment of pride. It's like seeing your child walk for the first time. It's that same sense of pride. So I started out as a face-to-face trainer, and then I started to design the face-to-face solutions for the call center and work in video training and click demo videos that were in an old Flash system. That's how long ago it was. And then from that, I was like, we need to do a bit more. So I started doing virtual training for people on night shift. So I thought, why should I go into work to do a session at 1 o'clock in the morning when I can just run it from home? It's a no-brainer. So we started doing virtual training, and off the back of that, started to get into the e-learning side of things. So I was at that company for 13 years, and then I followed my old boss over to a different company where I headed up their digital learning program. And one of the solutions that I built for them was something that was presently outsourced, and my solution saved the company 200 grand a year, 200,000 a year from licensing fees for an anti-money laundering thing. So that's the impact that you can have within organizations. If they're outsourcing and you're an employed person building these solutions, you can save a massive amount of money. As a freelancer, you don't want that. You want them to come to you and do the outsourcing. So it's a double-edged sword, is that one. And then I got made redundant from that company and figured, let's set up. Let's just go out on our own. And initially, I thought, I'm just going to tell people on LinkedIn, I'm available, I'm fabulous, I can do this, 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 and this, and everybody's going to flood me with work. And that just doesn't happen at all. I had no work for 8 months because I thought everybody would just come to me. So I'm going to be touching on that as well, because now 6.5 years later, I know a lot more, and I'm successfully sustaining my household on a single income through the freelancing side of things. So that's me in a nutshell. All right.
Awesome. Thank you for that introduction. I mean, telling us about your story. And what I would like to know, you said you developed a solution that helped your organization to save over 200,000. Can you tell us a bit more about that solution?
Okay, so they needed, because it was a gambling industry, they had a lot of regulatory e-learnings that they needed the entire company to complete, and the company size was around 2,000, predominantly UK based, but some overseas. And they needed, they were outsourcing it, so they had the initial setup cost, plus they had a license fee per user. So 2,000 people, license fee per user. And the content was very generic. It wasn't customized to the individual company. It was just blah is the best way for it. You've all seen that type of e-learning where you're like, yeah, this is just generic for anybody. So what I did with that was I spoke to the marketing guy and borrowed his very, very expensive camera. And I had a photo shoot with the people from the call center. So we incorporated people from within the business into the e-learning. And I made it narrated by one of the people from the call center as well. So all of the scenarios, all of the situations were specific to that business and to that industry, rather than being generic about money laundering. And because people were seeing each other, and you know, when they were going for a coffee, like, oh, I've just done an e-learning and you're in that, it was creating a really good engagement buzz within the business as well. So everybody was wanting to do it because we were wanting to see who's in that. So the uptake for rolling out across 2,000 people was quicker than you would expect, because everybody was starting to have this buzz. And because they were essentially only paying for my time, they didn't have the per user license fees. So in average, it was saving them £200,000 a year.
Yeah, amazing. Wow. That's really, really amazing. I'm sure someone who works in corporate as an e-learning professional has, you know, caught something from that. Another question I have, you know, the main theme for today's session is freelancing. And I'm sure a lot of people want to know much more about that. I remember you mentioned that when you started, you assumed that people were just going, you were just going to announce to people, oh, I'm available, I have this number of years of experience, I'm fantastic, come hire me. And it just didn't happen automatically like that. So can you walk us through all the things you had to do? You know, getting your first clients, sustaining clients, getting more clients. You know, I know you're one of the leading, you know, companies in the UK. Just take us through your journey in detail, because people really want to make more income, either doing freelancing as a side hustle, or transition from paid employment to be able to be more to have flexible and a good work-life balance. So can you really talk to people on how that can be achieved?
So there's different ways that you can do this. So I'm kind of going to break it down a little bit for you, because it all depends on your situation and what your skill set is. So for instance, for me, because I can do lots of different things, for me, if I was looking for looking at a recruiter or looking on one of the freelance sites, my options are broader. So I could go for a virtual training gig, I could go for an e-learning gig, I could go for a video gig. So first of all, you need to know what your niche is. What is your offering? Because you need to then make sure that you're curating the leads for that. So if you only build e-learning content, don't go after video content unless you're wanting to develop your skills in that field. So like I said, when I first went self-employed, I put things out on LinkedIn to say, this is what I can do. This is what I can offer your business. This is how I can help. I also cold called different companies. I sent out flyers with my offerings to different companies, and I got nothing, literally nothing. I built e-learning courses for my portfolio because I thought, well, I don't have a portfolio. And if somebody comes to me for an e-learning build, I need to be able to show them something. So I spent this 8 months of not earning money by building my portfolio and curating resources that I could then showcase work. Because me just saying I can do all of this, it doesn't give confidence to somebody that I can actually do it if I can't show them that I can do it. But the portfolio is only one side of things. I then thought, well, I need somewhere to show my portfolio. So I built my website. I then paid somebody else to rebuild my website because website building isn't in my skill set. So it didn't look that great. So I paid somebody to do that. And that is really an extension of my portfolio. So it tells people about me. I don't generate leads from that though. So that's something to just point out. I don't generate leads from there. It's somewhere for me to send prospective clients to so they can see what I can do. So the marketing side of things, it really depends what your focus is going to be. You could start marketing on the social platforms, doing thought pieces, showcasing little snippets, images or GIFs of what you've created, just so people can start thinking, oh, that person does e-learning, that person does this. And it starts to get you in people's consciousness. So if they need a freelancer, like, oh, I saw something on LinkedIn. I know that person. And with LinkedIn, as an example, consistency is key. So you don't just, I thought, just post once, yeah, there you go. It's in the ether. People are going to see it. But no, repost. You need to be consistently posting every week, commenting on things. So you need to be raising your profile within the industry that you want to work in. So my first actual paid gig I got through a freelancer website. It was freelancer.com. There's also Upwork and there's also Fiverr. The problems with those websites is that there's so much competition, and my first paid gig with them was an e-learning build that took me, I don't know, a couple of days, something like that. It was a medical thing. Wasn't that complex, so you know it was very quick to produce, and I earned $200 from that. So for me, I was like, yay, this is great. I can do this. I've earned real money. So for me as a buzz, I was like, this is great. And then further down the line, when I found out more about contracting and day rates and things, I was like, that was so cheap. So this is the thing, the freelance websites where you basically bid for work, and I've known jobs on there that want a quick e-learning build, and there's people bidding £50, £100, and I'm like, I can't do it for that because my software costs are above that anyway, and the time it'll take me to do that. So have a look on those, but use it as caution. If you are into graphic design, a lot of graphic designers use those kind of sites for the majority of their clients. But as an e-learning developer, the pickings are very, very slim and the prices are very, very low. So my first proper paid gig after that one was from a recruiter friend that I knew from my employed days. And he got me a 3-month contract, and that was to develop the GDPR e-learning for a company. And it was just go in, build this e-learning. I also ended up creating them video content for their marketing team, a workshop, which was then converted into a virtual workshop. So I delivered that with people in Australia and Canada on the same session, which was fun for scheduling. And the client went away happy. And that was a pretty decent day rate. That was a fall off your seat when they tell you kind of day rate. And I thought, well, contracting is a really good way to go. I don't have to look for clients. They're just going to come to me, give me the work. I do it for a few months. I get paid. Job done. Thanks very much. So I kind of fell into a contracting trap for a little while. And I call it a trap because in the UK, when you contract, you are getting paid a set amount per day. There is no holiday pay, there is no sick pay, there is no pension, there are no benefits, but you're on more than a normal employed person would be. So that's the kind of the compensation. But when that contract ends, the chances are that that's it. You then don't have any more work, and you don't generally get more work from that previous, because they've got you in to do one job and then that's it. So I did that for a few years, and while I was doing that, I was thinking, well, I need to build my network, because when I first went self-employed, I didn't have a professional network other than people that I had worked with. So I didn't know anybody in the industry. I didn't have any connections. So while I was doing the contracting, I was starting to build my professional network. I joined the Learning Network, which we'll share in the chat later on. I've joined L and D Shakers. There's this network, the Designers Hub. There's lots of different networks out there. So it's really about finding people that you can bounce ideas off or potentially work with in future. So nowadays, the jobs that I do, very little comes in cold calling. The majority of work that I do is people that I've either worked with previously or I've been recommended by somebody that I've worked with in a previous role. So that's one of the biggest pieces of advice about marketing yourself, is not just doing marketing, doing personal marketing as well. So making sure that you have a strong professional network and making sure that those people know what you can do as well. Because if everybody on here, if you landed at a gig and you're like, I need to pull in 2 or 3 freelancers to help me out on this, you've got your list of people in the chat. You know, you've got this network of freelancers. And yes, not everybody may have the skills to do what you need specifically, but then they may know somebody else. And that's what freelancing is really all about. That's why it's so powerful, because you pay it forward. You bring in other people, you bring in people that you've worked with, people that you trust, people that you know will do a good job, that will walk through fire to get the job done. You bring those people in, and by doing that, it's kind of marketing yourself, and there's enough work out there that you will keep getting work, because you give a little, you get a little, give it a, get a little, and like that. But yeah, find a community, get your marketing, start thinking, what is my offering? What's my niche? Start marketing for that, start posting, start following people. There's different people on LinkedIn, Tim Slade, Devlin Pecker, 2 e-learning guys that I follow. There's lots of people on LinkedIn. There's loads. I can see in Kendra's video, she's got the Map It book by Kathy Moore on her bookshelf. Kathy's a really great one. So if a client says to you, I've got this problem, we need to fix it, Map It by Kathy Moore is an excellent book to fine tune what you actually need to teach them, rather than just giving them a load of information in a module. So sorry, Kendra, I just wanted to shout out that book that you had in the background.
Sadly, I think she's retired.
Is she?
I think so. I think I think I saw she said she's pulling back.
Oh,
that's
wow.
no
But
fun.
she's earned it. She's been in the business a long time, so good for her to enjoy her retirement.
Exactly.
Amazing.
Yeah, so the journey to being a freelancer is never an overnight success. I know many freelancers who they were doing it as a side hustle. You know, they were working on evenings and weekends to build up their portfolio, to build up a client list while they were still employed, because they couldn't stop working and just freelance because you've still got bills to pay. I was quite lucky that I was made redundant, so I had enough for a while, but it was getting a bit close towards the end. If I hadn't have landed that GDPR contract, I would have had to go and find a proper job. So that is one of the things, that never expect this to be an overnight success. You're not going to have clients beating down your door. You need to do the legwork, which is raising your profile, connecting with people, letting people know what you can do, and don't sell to people, because people, if they know what you can do, they'll come to you. They don't like to be sold to. Sorry if I've gone off and waffled a little bit.
All right. Wow, that's a lot that you have packed into that. So much information. I hope people are taking notes, because I am taking notes here as well. Amazing. You mentioned something about sharing a resource. Do I go ahead and share it? I know you sent it to me earlier.
I can just.
Okay.
I've got it open, so I'll just bob it into chat. My message is too long.
Yeah. I was wondering if we could share it on the screen, and you just quickly just have a talk over it, because we still have like 6 minutes for you to talk.
Yeah. Oh, I've got. I think it might be worth emailing it to people, because if I share it, it's not going to put the links in on that bit, I don't think.
Okay. Let me try from here.
Let me try. Oh, it does. That's good.
Okay, yeah,
right.
it does.
I'm just
putting
these few things in. So while I'm just doing that, another thing that I just want to talk to you about is diversifying. So when I first became a freelancer, I was very set that I only wanted to work for call centers. I only wanted to do customer service training, all of that, because that was basically what I had, I had 15 years experience in it, pretty much. And hardly any of my clients are in the call center industry. So I have, just to give you a rundown of what I've been working on, I've got one client that has a delivery date tomorrow, and I'm working on building them an e-learning for construction industry. I've just rebuilt an induction for a transportation industry customer. I was also building e-learning for an accountancy firm. So you can kind of see that I'm spread out a little bit. It's not all about just work in one industry and just go for that. Just do one type of thing. My normal design tool is Storyline, but if I need to design in something else, I'll learn how to do it. Because if the client says to me, I want it in Rise, I'll say, fine, I can do it in Rise. It's not going to be as good as Storyline, but I can do it. If they say I want it in Gomo, I want it in Evolve, Elucida, any of these different rapid authoring tools, I don't have a license for them. I've had to play around, so I know that I can use them, but I'm not as good. I know that I'm not going to be as quick. But if that's what the client needs, you need to be able to diversify your offering. You need to be able to say, yep, I can do it, and make sure that you're backing up that you can actually do it. So The other thing to think about is your pricing. Now, there's different ways that you can price things. I price things differently for different clients. Some clients I work with have day rate pricing. So I say, the e-learning that I'm building at the moment, I said it'd take me about a week to build, and it's going to be this amount of money. That's what we agree on. If I go over that week, that's eating into my time. So it's then devaluing my day rate, if that makes sense. Other clients, I give them a project fee. So if it's a larger thing, then I'll say, right, to rebuild this induction, it's going to be X amount of money. And that's it. We don't even mention how long it's going to be. We mention deliverables. We mention, you know, what our deadlines are, but we don't even go into how many design days are going to be used. And then there is value pricing, which is, for instance, the example that I gave earlier about saving the company 200,000 per year. If I said to them, I'll build you this e-learning for £100,000. I know that most of you have probably fallen off your seats at this point and thinking 100 grand for e-learning. That's the dream. But if I said to them in my sales pitch, it's going to save you double per year. So you pay me 100 grand. In year one, you'll save an additional 100 grand. Year two, you'll save another 200 grand. So does it not make sense to give me 100 grand to build this e-learning? I don't know if I've got the actual gumption to do that with someone. I haven't tried it out with a client yet, not with that level of funds. But I've worked on projects with people and they say, oh yeah, this is a 250 grand project. And I'm like, but for what? What are we giving them? And it's because that's the expectation of companies, that they're going to be paying a lot for a good service. So like for those things, I'm like, I'd charge someone 5 grand for this or 10 grand. And they're like, yeah, it's a 250 grand project. But then they've got, you know, employees, graphic designers, videographers, that kind of thing. So with pricing, you need to think about your pricing model, whether you're going to do it on a flat day rate, which is really great, or an hourly rate when you're first starting out as a freelancer, because you know how long things are going to take, you know how much you're going to make out of the particular project, and then you can use that information to then merge that into project pricing, because you'll think, well, an e-learning, I did one like that last year and it took me this amount of time and it was, let's say, £2,000. So I'm going to take that and let's say £2,500. That's the project fee, because there may be some slippage. You may do, if in sign off, they may change things, you know, here and there. So you need to incorporate that into it as well. And then you can think about the value pricing, but that's really for your projects where people have got a problem to solve. And they're not coming to you for compliance training. They're coming to you because they've got a performance problem. So if you can quantify, it's my solution will save you this amount of money, then you can look at incorporating value pricing. But that's why I haven't done that on any clients yet, because I haven't had a client that's needed that kind of solution yet. I think I've covered everything on my list. Sorry, I know that I've given you all a lot to think about.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing is that there's going to be a replay, so people can always go over it again and again. And thank you for those information, very priceless. I'm going to ask if we have any questions. Sorry, I didn't mention this earlier, but we know how it works. Once our speaker is done, you are now free to ask your question. So if you have any question, either you unmute yourself and speak, or you put it in the chat. So it's time for questions now.
Come at me with as many questions as possible.
Please.
Hi, I have a question.
Oh, great. Go for it.
Okay. So I had somebody contacted me through my profile on Upwork.com. And I totally understand what you mean about the pricing on Upwork. So I have two questions about that experience. One is she told me that she has a e-learning developer who, once they receive a visual storyboard, it would take her 8 hours to turn out this e-learning. To me,
she a wizard?
What?
Is she a wizard?
Exactly. So the question is, if you have an hourly rate, and then you're tying the work to it, it just comes out to a certain amount of money. So if we're saying that the fee is the hourly rate times the amount of hours the client expects it will be, we could just say that that's, if they're looking for a project fee. So two questions I have is, one is, do you have any techniques about suggesting gently to a client that it would take longer, that the rate may not be in line with the level of work, or that perhaps it was done so quickly because the quality hasn't been up to par? And then a separate question is, once I had that interview, which I could not accept the job because of timing, I realized, wait a minute, I don't have a service agreement. I better hurry up and get one. I started Googling on a lot of blog sites, and people would say general language, but there was a real hesitancy to provide a template. And I really just need, it's not, I can't make the leap to include this, this, and this. I really need some lawyerly language to put in there. So do you have any resources about the service agreement / a contract? I know Upwork has their own, but Upwork itself recommends to have an additional one. Specifically, I want to include the clause if the client would agree to have me display it on my portfolio.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Thank you.
So first part of your question, I was talking to another freelancer about this the other day, and he said that he doesn't tell his clients how long something's going to take, just gives them a project fee, makes the mental calculations, and then just says, right, there you go. I think going to your point about, well, what's the quality of the work if it's taken them 8 hours? If it's a straightforward image, text, click next, then you can get through a lot of slides in a very quick amount of time. But like you say, the interaction isn't going to be there. The quality isn't going to be there. I would say with those kind of clients that are wanting to beat you down, so you're basically working for pennies, is that the best use of your time? Now you've got to think, is it a project that is going to give something to you professionally? Is it a new sector? Is it something that you just really, really want to do? So you find taking a bit of a hit on the cost. You could have additional conversations with them to see the storyboard and see what state it's in, and then say, realistically, it's going to take me this amount of time, but within that amount of time, you're going to get a highly interactive e-learning module. You're going to get something that is of a high quality, rather than it just being a very basic click next module with 10 questions at the end. Or like I said, just don't give them how many hours, unless they ask specifically for it, and then best guess. So has that answered the first part of your question? Pretty much.
Yeah, I think so. It was just sort of a shock to see the low hourly rates and the low bid prices, and I think that is the expectation. Additionally, it seems like some clients, especially on Upwork, are looking for the work to be very segmented. So this woman has 3 different people doing the jobs. One is the SME doing the text-based storyboard, then there's a visual storyboard, basically doing the graphic design in PowerPoint, then sending it to a third person who's doing the e-learning, the authoring. So everything is very disjointed. So I think the prices per each segment is lower. But I was still surprised by the 8-hour estimate, and as trying to figure out a way to gently suggest that may not be enough, or you're right that maybe that's not the right project.
Yeah. So the second part of your question about statements of work, personally, I don't actually have one. It may be different for me in the UK versus US, and this is massively dependent on the country that you're working in. But a lot of the people that I work with, they set me up as a supplier on their books, and then it's kind of just like a handshake agreement, which is really, really bad, and I wouldn't recommend it. And I know I need a statement of work, but luckily, touch all of the wood in the room, I haven't been burnt by it yet. If I'm doing work through an agency, then I'm covered under their statement of work. So it's only when I have my direct clients and I have a different type of contract which outlines all the expectations, that's got a little bit of legal wording. Some of that legal wording, I actually just Googled it and got some of the structure. I used ChatGPT to get some of the structure for that as well, because that I use GPT-4 so it can look at real-time websites as well. So I use that a lot when I'm researching things. So I use that to flesh out the more technical things, rather than just saying, pay me within 14 days of my invoice, thanks very much. Which doesn't go down too well when you're talking with legal things. Okay, so
thank you.
Jonathan added a question about the pricing model. Is it majorly discretionary? The way that I price things, it depends on what I'm doing and who I'm doing it with. If I'm building e-learning, if I'm having to do a hugely interactive blended learning session, it all depends what I'm doing. I don't have a flat rate for things. The only flat rate actually that I have is for the client, the construction client, because I've been working with them for years. So they get me at the rate that they got me at, which is lower than I would charge other people, but they give me good, consistent work throughout the year. So I'm fine taking a bit of a hit to keep that relationship happy. So does that answer your question, Jonathan?
Yes, it does. I just wanted to know if we have certain models we could apply when, having to do with clients, rather than having a flat rate. Or I just wanted to find out if it's based on our discretion.
Yeah. I think there are models out there. So I know that there's models for UK and there's models for US pricing. There's also models that tell you how long e-learning should take you to build, dependent on the complexity. But a model it doesn't take into account your experience, because people, and this is one for you as well, Kendra, it's people aren't just buying you to build an e-learning module. They are buying your 10 years experience, 20 years experience, 5 years experience. They're buying every course that you've ever done.
Stop using my phone.
Individual.
I'm not using it now. I didn't use it. If you
So for me, someone isn't just buying me to build an e-learning course. They're buying my brain to take their content and transform that into a learning solution that's going to have an impact. That's what they're buying. They're not buying an e-learning course. They're buying impact. That's probably a good snippet for something for a LinkedIn post. Buying impact.
Absolutely. I agree with you, because your years of experience at times will determine how much you can save an organization in your learning intervention. If you hire someone that has probably just 1 year or 2 years, probably they'll design your e-learning for you. It's just e-learning, but you get more from someone with years of experience in terms of consultation, advice on what works, what doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
For example, in my last role, I worked as an LMS admin, and I was able to, also contribute to the learning design. And I found that the learning management system that was got before I got there had a lot of issues in terms of the features not working. Now, some of the things that were promised were not, they did not work. And it means the organization had to now invest in some other, softwares to get it to work, or some other platforms to get it to work. And they would have been saved that issue if they had someone really experienced to consult for them. So it goes a long way. They're not just buying your skill, they're buying your years of experience. I totally agree with that. Thank you so much for that. Jonathan, does that answer your questions?
Yes.
Question. Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know if you came earlier. She actually talked about 3 different pricing models. She talked about value pricing. She talked about project-based and then hourly rates. Were you here when she was talking about that?
Possibly my network kicked me out then.
Oh, okay, I see. So you're going to, if you go through the replay again, I'm sure you'll find it. So she mentioned that. Okay, thank you. Yeah, Kendra has a question. Could you give a range of day rates as you mentioned earlier?
Oh, that's a loaded question. So it depends where you are, depends where you're working for, which country and everything, because countries, different costs of living and all of that. So I can give you the UK day rates, which are agency day rates. So if I was working through an agency, just as an e-learning developer, so not thinking about any of the other side of things, just as an e-learning developer, the lowest day rate I've seen in the past 5 years is £150 per day. The highest I've seen is £450 per day. So that gives you an idea. The average, you're usually looking about 250 recently to £300 a day. The ones that are higher up, there's a lot of competition from a lot of people who have got a lot of experience. So if you're going for the higher end ones, you really need to make sure that you've got a kick-ass portfolio CV and that you can talk and talk and talk your skill and convince them that you are the best person, the only person for that job. The lower rate ones, there's still an awful lot of competition going for those ones as well. So either way, you need to make sure that your portfolio stands out and that your skills speak for themselves.
Yeah, great. Thank you for that.
Working through
I
an
believe
agency.
that doesn't. Sorry.
Oh, okay. There's another question from Kendra. So the agencies that I work with in the UK, there's an agency called Jampan that I do some work with. There's Possible, which used to be Woodrow Mercer. There's Blue Eskimo, there's Instinct. And you just sign up with them and they have a jobs board. And when they've got work, they might give you a call, or you just see one of their posts on LinkedIn and like, oh yeah, I'm going to give them a call and speak to them about this job. So it's as simple as that. And then they'll get your CV, they'll send the CV over to the client. If the client likes what they see, then they may arrange an interview. Sometimes it's just a call, sometimes you need to go and see them in person. More likely it's generally a call. And then you might get the gig, you might not. So the agency stuff is all right, but it's contract stuff. So it's not your one-off jobs. It's you're there for 3 months, Monday, Friday, 9 to 5 kind of job, which doesn't really work very well when you have your own clients that you need to service as well, which is another reason why I've come off contracting more recently.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. I mean, we're coming almost. We've spent almost 1 hour, and it's been quite an impactful session. Does anyone else have a question before we round up? And one more thing that I would really like us to do is to put on our cameras and have an e-picture. We haven't done this before. I keep forgetting. So I don't know. If you don't mind your face showing in the picture for a screenshot, please just put on your camera while I just take a screenshot of everyone here. So thank you so much, Kim. That's been, I still have questions. Maybe I should ask one more question while I wait for more people to put on their cameras. We've talked so much about how to get jobs, the job boards, the sites that, where clients price ridiculously, but that may be the starting point for people. But then how important is it for you to have the skill and getting things done? What skills should people really invest in? How, for somebody just starting, what do you think the first skill they should invest in? Because there are so many things to learn about. There are so many softwares out there. So maybe the first 1 or 2 that you think people should invest in. Please, let's keep our pictures on so that I'll just take a screenshot while Kim just answers that question.
So first off, the fundamental is the basics of how to put together good training content. Okay. So Julie Dirkson's book, Designed for How People Learn, that's a great one as well. As we mentioned before, Map It by Kathy Moore. There's lots of different books for instructional design. Yeah, I've seen many, many times e-learning developers who don't know how to put together a good course. They just take the storyboard and they turn it into e-learning, but they don't understand the fundamentals of how people learn, when to use an interaction, when not to use an interaction. So really get the basics down, get to be an expert in how to build training material, not necessarily e-learning, training material. Because I started out as a classroom designer, so beginning, middle and end, all of that, telling a story, having the basics, the fundamentals, and then choose an authoring tool. There's many, many out there. Find one that works for you, and then you'll be laughing.
Yeah, thank you so much for that question. And, I think the easiest way to learn how to design learning is to just know about the AD, process. You have to analyze, design, develop. There's implementation and evaluation. You need to know what needs to be done at every stage as a beginner, and then, and you have to also keep learning. There are new trends coming up, new tools coming up, and you just have to be able to keep up with what is happening. Last year there was so much said about AI. Yeah, before gamification and all that, you need to, continually be on trend and all that. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending to this session. There's going to be a replay, which I'll send the link to us. Make sure you join us on all our platforms. I've shared in the chat earlier. We have a YouTube channel. We have LinkedIn. We have a WhatsApp group where we disseminate information. We have our Facebook group. Feel free to join any of these channels. Follow us on Instagram. I'm going to share again in case you came after I shared it. And Kim has been gracious enough to share with us a document which she posted. I also shared it as a document, a Word document. You can download it on, ways that you can start your freelancing, the sites that you can go to, what skills you need to learn, what communities to join. They're all there. So let me just share it again. No, it's there. I shared it at 8:20, which will be 9:20 in Nigeria, and I'm not sure if I got the time at Kendra's place, but that's like 10-11 minutes ago. So the document is titled, The document is titled Getting Started with Freelancing. So download it. And if you're not able to, just reach out to me. I'll send it to you. Thank you everyone for coming today. It's been a wonderful time. Happy New Year once again. I really wish all us a great year ahead. Thank you. So have a great week. Have a great year. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.